Hey everyone, so this is Marco Polo season 1 episode 7 called The Scholar's Pen. So the episode starts off with a flashback scene of Madeline and Sadao as young kids, and Madeline seems to have just finished having sex with an older guy that seems to be both twice her age and twice her size. And the whole time that she is talking to this older guy, you see Sadao laying under the floorboards, and then so when the guy leaves after throwing a sack of coins at Maylin, he comes out and right away asks her if he can go to the festival. And Lynn's like, no, you can't, because they can't really spare any money. This is for food, for any clothing that any new clothing that they might need, anything. But he keeps fucking pestering her ass for money to go to the festival, and she's like, well, fine, here, have a coin. Just don't keep fucking asking me about getting any more money. And then it goes back to present day Mongolia, or the present moment in Mongolia, where you see Maylin shackled to the floor with her face bloodied. I personally thought that what happened at the end of episode 6 was just a fantasy thought of Maylin's. Turns out I was wrong. And so basically, Maylin is in front of the whole royal court, and Kublai is obviously upset and demanding to know why you tried to kill Chabi. And she tells him that it wasn't her intention at first to kill Chabi at all. Sadao had forced her to come over here to gain information from Kublai and to send that information back to him. But then all of a sudden, Sadao changes his mind and it's like, I want you to kill Chabi. And Kublai's, well, why? Why did you want to do it? Or why were you told to do this? And all Maylin's like, well, this woman, Jing Fei, had come up to me with the letter, and it's just, I mean, I don't know why my brother decided to do this. Who knows what my brother thinks? And everyone's like, brother, like, they cannot believe that Sadao's actually her brother. So Maylin then begs the Empress not to have her killed, because she feels that the Empress knows what it's like to give birth and knows the love between a mother and a child, because Sadao was threatening to kill her daughter if she doesn't do what he says. And that's when Chabi suddenly grabs the sword and puts it to Maylin's throat, and it's like, why should I spare you? And then that's when Maylin, changes tactics and says, well, if you kill me, you won't have any knowledge of the walled city, and you'll lose hundreds of men just like you did last time. So if you don't kill me, I can tell you everything about the walled city that you want to know. And that's what she says, and so the Empress spares her. And then in the next scene, a little while later, you see Chabi talking to Kublai about sparing Maylin, and because Chabi says that it's because Maylin is the sister of the worst enemy, not because she's trying to protect her child, like Kublai is insisting that she's doing it. And Chabi also says that Maylin is the agent of the Song Court, and so that convinces him to spare her life. And something that Chabi says a few seconds later is, to me, something that is even true in everyday life. She says, don't use a battering ram when an arrow will do just fine. I think that's very important because that's true in every instance, not just in instances of war, like or times of tension like they are in at the moment. Um, because that could be that I personally think that could be applied to just jobs and like everyday people's lives at work, and arguments in any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic, friendship, parent child, or what kind of relationship it is. um, and So I just think that's very true in any instance. But anyway, so Lynn is then seen a little while later being startled awake by a man who is leaning over her, and she asks who she's in the custody of now, and Ahmed tells her that she's still in the custody of the Khan, but that doesn't really sufficiently soothe her or soothe her question or anything. She's like, well, whose quarters am I in? Or why she's in, sorry, that's not what she asked. She asked why she's in Ahmed's quarters, and he explains that all currency is in his jurisdiction, to which she says whores are bought and sold, which is, I guess, true. And so he asks her why Sadao ordered her to kill Chabi, and she says to defeat Kublai and shadow the walled city. Because I assume it's because Sadao knows that if Chabi is killed, Kublai will do anything to avenge her death. Because he would have found out from Meilin that Sadao was the one who ordered her to kill Chabi, and so therefore Kublai will just go straight to Zhanyang and attack, because he's angry that Chabi was killed, or that Sadao had Chabi killed, and obviously nobody in his family, whether it's his grandfather Genghis Khan or he himself, know the Zhanyang that well to penetrate it and take it over, because they've been fighting Zhanyang for the last 30 fucking years, or 30 plus years, and so obviously they don't know the city well enough to successfully take it over. So I assume that's why Sadao did it, is so that way Kublai would attack Zhanyang without any knowledge of how to successfully take it over, and then successfully kill Sadao, or successfully kill Kublai's army for good and everything. So that's why I believe he did it. And Ahmed wonders if Sadao hides his devilry in the walled city, and she doesn't say anything. Ahmed then says to her, well, I guess if you gave her the information, you'd be out of currency. Or she would be out of currency. Excuse me. And then she asks why he cares. Only thing he says is, she will heal, and just leaves. So that's the end of that whole scene for good, or that whole storyline, or not really storyline, but little scene for good, I guess. And then Jing Fei, the woman who sent the message to Mei Lin on Sadao's behalf, quickly is seen back in Zhanyang, and she goes up to Ling, and says hi to her before she talks to the Empress alone, and she tells the Empress that she lied to Sadao about Mei Lin successfully killing Chabi, and fears that once it's found out that Mei Lin didn't kill Chabi, that both she and Ling will be dangerously hurt or killed. And the Empress says to Jing Fei to keep Ling away from Sadao until she can get rid of him. And that is the end of that storyline for now. Kublai then tells Hundred Eyes that Hundred Eyes has never taken a wife, and wonders why. Hundred Eyes tells him that it's because he fears of disappointing either her or himself as a husband. And I think then Kublai offers Hundred Eyes a wife from one of his concubines, but Hundred Eyes declines and everything. And then that's when Kublai tells Hundred Eyes that he's going to Jianyong to kill Sadao. And Hundred Eyes is wondering why Kublai is sending a blind monk, and Kublai is, well, how quickly you forget that it was you who killed hundreds of my men when you first got here. And Kublai then asks if Marco is accomplished enough, or accomplished yet, and Hundred Eyes tells him he's accomplished for someone who is new to the culture. And so Kublai says, okay, sure. Since you say that, Marco's going to be your escort. So, and then goes to Zabing, who is who I've been calling Kokachin's protector friend for the last few episodes. Found out his name eventually, finally, and Zabing goes to Kokachin's fake Kokachin's room and tells her that Chabi has summoned her to the court, or summoned her to speak to her. And Kokachin asks if any other woman of the court is going to be there, and he tells her no. And so she's wondering why Chabi is wanting to talk to her alone, since she's never wanted to talk to Kokachin alone before. And they talk about that for like a minute or two, and it's clear by the way Zhao Bing talks that he knows Nagui isn't really the Blue Princess and is willing to keep her secret. I wasn't really sure about whether or not he knew she wasn't the Blue Princess before, but now I pretty much do. And then when Marco is summoned by Kublai, Kublai is then presents the golden tablet to him so that he can use it to swiftly get to Jianyong, and that Marco's mission now is to infiltrate the Sunk Fortress and gather information on the rebels. Marco asks what Hundred Eyes' mission is, and he is told that Hundred Eyes is to kill Sadao. Sadao apparently wants to start a war before the Emperor's son's coronation, but they're trying every little thing not to do that, or have that not happen and everything. Marco then goes to the stables with Hundred Eyes to talk to the man that Mei Lin used to send messages to Sadao, and he tells the man that Mei Lin wants to send a message to Jing Fei, and the guy is like, well, I don't know either of those names. And then Hundred Eyes pulls a sword on the man and puts it to the guy's throat. And then it cuts to Hundred Eyes and Marco riding to Jianyong. Sadao and then Jing Fei then show them talking to each other, and he tells her not to be afraid of him. But then after talking for a little bit, Jing Fei stands up, takes off her robe, and asks Sadao if he wants to take or have her. He then asks her to tell him one more time of what he wants to hear, and she says Meilin killed Chavi, and then she asks him again one more time if he wants to have or take her. And the only thing that he says to that is that he wants to see her parents before they change their mind, so that he could change their minds before he leaves the room. And then you see Marco and Hundred Eyes, continuing on to Danyang, but before they do, they change horses. And then you see Bayamba and Kaido's daughter speaking to the army that she's leading, and they've first Bayamba speaks to them, and then Kaido's daughter speaks to them and tells them why they should listen to the word of a woman leading them, because and everything. And then next thing you know, you see both of them wrestling in the circle of within a circle of her warriors, and that goes on for a few minutes before it cuts to Chavi and fake Kokachin speaking in the Hall of Fragrance. And Kokachin tells her Chavi that her home pales in comparison to Khan's palace. And Chavi's like, well, you seem to miss it. And Kokachin's like, well, what I miss is the Blue Lake and my friend Wee. And Chavi asks what happened to her friend, and she asks if her friend was killed in the siege, and Kokachin says yes, she was. And then they talk a little bit about Kokachin having friends within the city, and both of them talk about writing for a little bit as well. And then Chavi asks who the lucky man of Ngui's thoughts are, and whether he's a prince, a king, or just someone of royal standing. And Ngui responds that power and prestige are concerns of the other girls there. And Chavi's like, well, that may be true, but she's still wondering like what Ngui sees that night when she closes her eyes. And Ngui responds that she only hopes that whoever she marries, that she will be able to give him many sons. And then you see Ahmed and Jingham speaking as they walk somewhere, and Jingham expresses the exact same thoughts that his uncle expressed all those episodes ago. Basically, that he has a distaste for Kublai opening his doors to outsiders, and that Marco seems to have gotten very close to his father. And Ahmed tells him that to just wait and see what happens. And if Marco fails, then both of them will push Marco out by hands. And then it cuts to the Empress of Danyang talking to Sadao about how the coronation is soon gonna happen, and that Sadao will have vigor again soon enough. And Sadao tries yet again to postpone the transfer of power from her to her son, and he wants that to be postponed for a later date, and she's like, no. And she asked if his sister fell when she killed Chavi, and Sadao's like, one can only assume that she has. And he then asks if he can stay after it's a done deal that he is to leave the Song court, so that he could see the changes she enacts after talking to the devil. And she's like, well, you're free to do what you want after the ink dries on the action of removing him from court, but he can only do so outside of the palace. Um, then it goes to 100 Eyes and Marco speaking outside of Zhang Yong's walls, um, and just talking for a little bit before they go in, pulling a cart behind them. They are able to get inside past the walls, or inside the walls, and they try to go into a certain part of the city that is clearly part of the royal court, and a guy stops them before they can do that and demands to see what is in their cart. Guy who was sending messages for Ming Lin, is like, no, and oh well, he only shows them a watermelon. That's the only thing that he shows them. He doesn't show anything else underneath the um, tarp that is covering the rest of it. And so once they're inside that part of the city that they were trying to get into, Marco's wondering where Jing Fei is, and the guy is like, well, she's favored by down. She'll come whenever she's able to come. And then he tells both Marco and 100 Eyes that they are to meet him there when the moon is low. I'm assuming later that night. And then it goes back to Kokachin and Chabi, and they have just returned from a little hunting party just outside the city walls. And they go up to Jingham, who is still trying to get his messenger hawk familiarized with him, and he's trying to familiarize himself with the messenger hawk. And they kind of talk for about 5 minutes, maybe not even that long. And it seems like Kokachin and Jangham have this spark between them, and it's not all that lost on his wife when his wife comes in before that scene is ended. And it doesn't seem like his wife is all that happy that they're kind of even speaking to each other. Anyway, so it goes back to Bayamba and Kairyu's daughter, where Bayamba comes up to her, and as she's sharpening her sword, asks if it was fear that stopped her from beating him, because there have been greater warriors than because he feels like he's not that great of a warrior, and she could have easily beat him, because she's easily beat warriors that were far greater than him. And they talk about that for a few minutes before they end up kissing each other. And then Marco and 100 Eyes talk to Jing Fei when she is brought to them, and she wonders if Ming Lin is dead. And Marco tells her that Ming Lin was spared for a daughter, at least is what I think he says, which was a lie, I think, on his part. And he tells her that Kublai is going to bring hundreds of thousands of people to Zhangyang for war, and she's like, well, I'm not going to help you do that if that's what you're here to do. And he's like, no, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to make sure that doesn't happen, which is yet again another lie. Then it goes to Toga and fake Kokachin talking, and she's telling him that he needs to leave because Chabi's asking too many questions, and she tells him that she's looking for another wife or a son, and Toga's like, well, okay, fine, we can just leave then, since that's gonna happen. And she's like, well, no, I can't do that. It's because it's different now, and he wants to know how. And she tells him that he just needs to leave the city and just never contact her again and everything. And then next scene shows Jing Fei going to Ming Lin's daughter's room, whose name is Ling, and as she's about to get into the bed, Shadao suddenly lights a match, and which startles her, and she kind of swiftly turns around uh, to see him, and he asks her where she's been because he was there earlier. She doesn't really say anything. She just says she was out, and then he asked her again where she was, and she was like in the pleasure room or in the pleasure house, um, because she knows that even though that she fears she'll have to go back there again, she knows that she'll eventually have to because once he leaves, that's the only logical place she can go back to get money and everything and have food and all that. And he's like, well, I won't have it. Like, well, like get your life. Like, no, yeah, just go away with the damn bullshit. And then next thing you know, the next day it's the coronation day for the little prince. And Hundred Eyes leaves Marco in the courtyard to go kill Sadao, with Jing Fei leading the way. And before you actually see Hundred Eyes go kill Sadao and Fang Zhen are seen talking in this room as Fang Zhen is writing down whatever, and Sadao like tells Fang Zhen this proverb, and wonders if Fang Zhen has heard it before, and Fang Zhen's like no. Eventually, Sadao attacks Fang Zhen. Then you see Hundred Eyes outside of the room that Sadao and Fang Zhen are in, and not to all the guards. Hundred Eyes goes inside and joins in their fight, and eventually Sadao stabs Fang Zhen in the throat and gets blood spurting on the left side of his face. And he uses the utensil that Fang Zhen was using before to kill him, and Sadao continues to attack Sadao before guards come in and distract him, letting Sadao escape. And then when Hundred Eyes defeats the guards, he goes back to where Marco is, getting the horses ready, and tells Marco that the mission isn't complete when Marco asks if the mission has been completed. And before Hundred Eyes even gets there, Jing Fei puts Ling on Marco's horse so they can bring her back to Mei Lin. And then they leave. And then as that happens, Sadao goes to the royal room with the blood on his face before the coronation is complete, and asks if the boy is ready to take on the title emperor, which the boy says yes. Once back in Mongolia, Marco goes to Kublai with the drawings that he drew. Excuse me. And Kublai looks at the drawings, and Marco's like, they're working on the base to repair it, but as of now, that's their way in. And then you see Kublai gathering his troops and sets out to Zhongyang. And that is the end of the episode. I'm not sure if they're going to get back to who tried to kill Kublai, because they kind of left that hanging at the end of last episode. So I still kind of think that either Ahmed or Yusuf acted alone and trying to have that happen, or what possibly could have happened is that Ahmed and Yusuf banded together to try to get Kublai killed, since they're both outsiders and basically servants to him, and they might have just they wanted to stop Kublai and his bullshit, and just because they got fed up with Kublai and everything. That could have happened as well, or they could have acted with a number of other people along with them to kill Kublai. That could have happened. I don't know. But I don't know for sure if they'll end up getting back to who trying to figure out who killed Kublai and everything. Um, so yeah, that could have. I mean, I don't know if they'll end up getting back to that. But anyway, so going on to another. Getting on to another prediction. I think Maylin, now that she's reunited with her daughter, that she'll. Well, this is more of a hope than a prediction, but I hope that since Maylin is reunited with her daughter, that she will eventually run away and make a life for herself outside of both Mongolia and China, because I feel like she's gotten the short end of the stick her entire life. She's been having sex with men ever since she was little, just to make ends meet and make money and survive. Xiao has been a prick and looking out for himself, only ever since he was a kid. So I personally just think that his ass just needs to die, and that's what I'm also hoping, that his ass dies. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for Maylin, is that she and her daughter run away together and live somewhere far, far away, so that she can eventually just uh, get things for herself for once, or do things for herself for once. Um, as far as any of the other predictions I made previously, those still stand. And that's all my predictions for now. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more of my videos, hit subscribe. That way you can know when I upload more videos and everything. And I will see you later in the next episode. Bye.